The federal government recently raised an alarm over the planned attack on some major airports across the Federation. The Ministry of Aviation, in a memo to airport security chiefs, stated that criminals were planning to strike gateways in Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, Maiduguri, Sokoto, and Kano. He asked them to submit a list of current and additional countermeasures to combat the risk, along with their cost consequences where applicable. Joining me to discuss this is Director General of the International Institute of Professional Security, Tony Ofoyetan. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10. Well, in February this year, the Federal Executive Council approved about 1.2 billion naira for CCTV cameras. And in April, about 10.5 billion naira was approved for facilities upgrade. And now this call for even further beefing up of security. What is your reaction to this development?
Well, I think one of my first reactions is there seems to be too much of administrative bureaucracy, especially when it comes to the issue of security, until there's an emergency like this. Because as I speak, you would observe that in most of the airports, maybe with the exception of few like Lagos and Abuja, very few, you don't have armed personnel, for example, patrolling. You don't have standard perimeter fence. In many of the airports, you cannot even see motorized patrol. You know, the detective system there are not functioning. If you go to airports like the Benin airport, the scanner is even not working at all. So which simply means that it is even easy to even come with arms and all those stuff like that. So you look at some of the airports, you see that the CCTV camera are either not there or they are not working. Not minding that government on itself is voting money into ensuring that these places are safe. But I think the government is also indictable in that it is not enough to say you have voted money. The issue is how do you follow through to ensure that what you have voted money for was actually executed. And I think that is majorly the problem, because as we speak now, there's the urgentness. If you look at what happened in Jos, it was easy for kidnappers to come into the airport premises. Why? Because the perimeter fencing were as good as not being there. You know, you see it's not scalable.
Mr. Ofoyetan, if I may come in, you know, there is also some level of constraints, financial constraints as a result of the pandemic and other issues. So the economy itself isn't as buoyant as it used to be.
If you are looking at the issue of the pandemic, these are vulnerabilities that have been there before the pandemic. So it's not as if they are vulnerabilities that cropped up during the pandemic. These are threats that have existed before the pandemic. And to the best of my abilities, even the operators of the airport have written even to the owners of aircraft and the like for the necessity to beef it up. The Association of the Security, as Chief Security Officers of Airports and the like, they have done all this. So it's not a matter of the pandemic. It's a matter of the political will to be able to execute some of these things. Now we are having a security challenge because of the security alert that you are talking about, and money is going to come out because so far so well I learned the government has started taking some effort. But the question is, must we wait until emergency before we do the needful?
Mr. Ofoyetan, that is one question that answers need to come to. Director General, International Institute of Professional Security, Tony Ofoyetan. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.